Let's get right to NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba, NBC News Justice reporter Ryan Riley, and the Bulwark senior reporter Will Sommer. And Monica, we'll start with you. Trump is meeting with a world leader, and here's some protests behind you, so that's what we're hearing for reference. On social media today, he's saying everything except what people may want him to talk about, the Epstein controversy. Is this just business as usual for this president, or is there actually a conscious effort maybe by the White House to distract from the Epstein scandal?
Well, I think we've seen signs of that in the last couple of weeks, as really there's been a lot of fallout from the renewed interest in the Jeffrey Epstein saga. And you're right to reference those protests. They are specifically in relation to what we are going to see the president do just a short time from now, which is meet with the president of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. So there are protests just outside the White House here as it relates to that which is coming up. But I think that is what would normally be on the president's schedule today. And certainly he is always juggling meetings with world leaders, with everything else that's on his plate. And when we talk specifically about this Epstein fallout, we know that over the last couple of weeks and certainly in the last couple of days, the president has been very vocal about other topics on his social media. In particular, he has been relitigating some of his past election losses, for instance. He's been talking about some of his predecessors, former President Obama. He's been talking about some of his most often political critics that he likes to go back and forth with. Essentially everything on that list, without talking as much about Jeffrey Epstein. But that is why we are watching this meeting with the president of the Philippines so closely, because there will be reporters in the room. There will be some events that likely will be an arena where there could be questions to the president specifically on these new developments that he hasn't really answered. He was met with some questions on Friday that he ignored about Jeffrey Epstein, and he just hasn't really addressed beyond some of his social media posts and beyond a major lawsuit that he filed against the Wall Street Journal, against those reporters involved in that story, and against Rupert Murdoch. Some of these other questions about that story that, again, the president has adamantly denied having drawn what was reported and included in that Wall Street Journal report. And he has tried to distance himself whenever possible from the Jeffrey Epstein matter, while at the same time, his own Department of Justice is taking these additional steps. But another really important item on the agenda here, Ariel, in terms of the meeting with the president of the Philippines, is the issue of trade. We know that the president has threatened to impose 20% tariff rates on goods from the Philippines that could go into effect on August 1st. But we understand that in this meeting, it's possible there could be some kind of a framework agreement that could perhaps be different from that if they agree to some of the terms. So we know that trade will be top of the agenda today during this important meeting with our ally in the Pacific.
And we know MSNBC has not independently verified that alleged letter from President Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. We'll keep an eye on that. But Ryan, Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy AG Todd Blanche, who is, of course, the president's former defense attorney, made a big announcement this morning that the DOJ will now meet with convicted Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. What does Bondi's team get out of this?
Yeah, it's a really great question, because I think, Monica was right in terms of there's been a lot of effort to throw this in a whole new direction, right? Donald Trump has been posting all of these sort of greatest hits, a lot of the things that he's been talking about in the past to sort of, I think, seems like sort of draw attention in the other direction. He's explicitly sort of talked about, this is not a big thing. He said, Epstein was not very big in life at one point. He just basically tried to move on. And now you have the Deputy Attorney General who's going to be meeting. And there, obviously there's an interest here for Ghislaine Maxwell to get better sort of conditions or potentially work her way at a pardon. But the evidence against her hasn't really been something that reporters have necessarily focused on, or the media's really focused on, because it's mostly been focused on Epstein. But the case against her is in the appeals process. But as you see on the screen there, she's serving this 20-year sentence, some very serious charges against her there. And I think this probably opens up the new door to rediscover, okay, what exactly was she convicted of here? Because a lot of the focus has been on Epstein himself, not so much on her. And now that they're setting up this potential meeting with obvious potential benefits for her down the road, I think this opens up a whole new door and sort of keeps the story going. So I'd be curious to see if there's going to be some more additional tension between the White House and the Justice Department over this, because this new meeting will really keep this story going for the foreseeable future.
And Will, you wrote the book on how QAnon, that conspiracy theory, was instrumental in pushing the larger Epstein conspiracy as well. We know that the MAGA loyalists have broken with the president when he told them to just kind of forget about Epstein, that it was old news. Is MAGA starting to realize that if they keep pushing for these files, they could just open Pandora's box, see some stuff they don't necessarily want out there?
I think that's what they're concerned about. I mean, I think we saw this pivot right around when the Wall Street Journal reported on the alleged note Trump sent Epstein. Before that, they were kind of like, come on, open up the files, let's have fun, because they thought it was going to be all these Democrats inside. And then suddenly with that letter, I think they started to realize, like, wait a minute, this might, if we really push here and find out more about Trump's relationship with Epstein, this might put the entire MAGA project at risk. And so you've seen a lot of these kind of right-wing media figures start pushing back and saying, they're trying to pivot now to say, we got to put Obama in jail for treason, for something unrelated. But I think the grassroots are still really interested in what's going on with Epstein. And so are, I think, a lot of independent voters who supported Trump. So, we see the House is going home early now because they're trying to avoid a vote on this. So I think this is still a real problem for the president.
It's pretty fascinating to hear the claim that, the president may not surface in some of these files, given his longstanding history with Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, he's distanced himself from Jeffrey Epstein as of the 2000s. But with the Wall Street Journal lawsuit, is Trump's base now starting to rally around him, or could we see this become more problematic?
I think in some ways this is more of a playbook they're used to, attacking the media, trying to discredit evidence against the president. But on the other hand, I mean, look, a lot of these questions are still out there. I mean, we've gone in a week from Trump saying, everyone move on, get over it, to now sending the deputy attorney general as sort of his emissary to Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, clearly that effort, a lot of these other distractions, trying to get the Washington Redskins to change their name back, to the Obama traitor stuff, it seems like that's failed. And now they're trying to kind of run an Epstein investigation that appears to protect Trump.
And Ryan, we now know that who the judges assigned to this Wall Street Journal case will be, and the DOJ is requesting to release this grand jury testimony. So tell us more what we can expect specifically now that we know the profile of the judge.
Yeah, I mean, so releasing grand jury testimony is not a normal sort of process, but certainly they're going to want to redact any information that may involve third parties potentially. So this idea that there's going to be some list coming out of this is not likely. And remember, grand jury investigations are focused on sort of the outcome here. So this is all going to be focused on Epstein himself, and I don't think it'll go much outside of essentially what you saw ultimately in the indictment, right? Because that's what they're primarily focused on. They're not investigating these potential third parties. They're really focused on getting probable cause during that process to secure that indictment from the grand jury. So I don't expect it to color too far outside of those lines, but it was something they could sort of, throw out there and say this process is in place. We're pushing forward with it to sort of, I think, to sort of, satisfy the MAGA base. What's so fascinating, of course, is that this is unlike anything I've seen covering the Justice Department before, where there are these announcements directly on X, formerly Twitter. This is not sort of how, I mean, there's a lot of things that are very abnormal about the relationship between the Justice Department and the White House at this moment, but having these public announcements and then, having Pam Bondi put out there and then immediately have her mentions flooded with make a post and then immediately have all of her mentions flooded about the Epstein files is certainly this dynamic. And, they are a little bit in this bubble where they are getting so much of this pushback and feedback from this MAGA base that was very, concerned about this, of course, as Will has pointed out, is doing a little bit of a pivot now, but that's a little bit tough because this is a very quick pivot. Typically, these pivots take place over a much longer period of time than you see this sudden reversal that we've seen within the past several days.
We are certainly living in unorthodox times. And speaking of that, strange bedfellows here, you have Democrats joining far-right Republicans in their outrage over Epstein and now calling for the release of information. Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the president's staunchest allies at points, posting, quote, dangling bits of red meat no longer satisfies. The base wants the whole steak dinner and will accept nothing else. Price of beef is up. So, Will, what, if anything, will quiet conspiracy theorists here? Will it ever be enough? What could they publish here that would satisfy them?
Yeah, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene's a great example. I mean, she was a hardcore QAnon believer, and Epstein was such a big part of that. I mean, she expects that there, or people like her expect, I think, that there's a huge cabal that sort of runs the world, and it's part of the Epstein network, but it's also the Obama administration, all these Democrats. And so I think she's responding to this idea the Trump administration and Tulsi Gabbard have dangled of like a treason trial against Obama related to the 2016 election. But she's saying, look, you can't buy us off with that. We want that, but we also want Epstein and all of his associates. And so, they're like a dog with a bone there. I mean, they're on it, and they're not giving up. And I mean, what's going to make them happy? I mean, I think in the reality is nothing, because what they want like people in Hollywood, all these Democrats to be proven to be pedophiles and arrested. And it seems like that's not going to happen. And so the administration has to manage those expectations. And I think they really have failed to do that.
Okay, Will, just admittedly a leading question here. Whose silence on this whole debacle has surprised you the most?
That's a great question. I mean, one thing that struck me, maybe related, is this aspect. Well, Steve Bannon, I would say, this is a guy who has more than 15 hours of interviews with Epstein that have never been released. He now says he's going to release them sometime next year, and he's demanding all these answers about Epstein, but he won't put out the interviews himself. I think it's very interesting.